Hi everybody, my name is David and I am a longtime friend of your teacher, Mr. Eddie Acosta. Anyway, he said that you guys are all learning about reading and writing, and both are very important skills. I'm here to talk a little bit about how those apply to my life. I will try not to bore you in the couple minutes that I have your attention, but I hopefully have some fun listening to me. So I started writing creatively when I was very young, probably about 45 years ago. And what's interesting is I still have, to this day, my journal from 1979, late 1979 to 1980. And my teacher back then, I think this was probably fourth, fifth, sixth grade, before I met your teacher, she would have us write something daily in this journal. And the important part about it was we could kind of write whatever. She maybe made a few corrections to, spelling or the wrong word, but she otherwise did not correct us on how we formatted anything and put it together and put it out there. She was just happy that we were writing. She would sometimes write comments back, but I thought I would share with you a little bit about 1979, the Sun Devils. In our neighborhood, we are forming a bike team to challenge other teams. Our team is called the Sun Devils. We challenging other teams for races, jumps, and dirt racing and style. I have the plans for our shirts and for my folder, and I am going to show them to our team leader. So, later on, one of the things I did, here we go. Spike is in trouble. Where we live, we have many mean shipyard cats. A few days ago, we found a big tan and striped female cat. When we were looking at her, we thought up a name and came to call it Spike. 2 days ago, at night, Spike meowed so much at 4 a.m. that my dad might bring her to the pound. I hope Spike doesn't meow too much tonight. Anyway, writing all this was neat and it was fun to keep. I don't know if you guys have ever done that or not, but that was a writing style that I had back then. Since then, I've written many times for many reasons. I've written for my work, I've written for pleasure, I've written notes to girlfriends, I've written letters to get jobs, I've written letters to pen pals that were in the military overseas, and I would do this by hand back in the day. A funny thing is that long ago, before there was even the internet, I would have to write letters by hand and put them in the mail, and they would take about a week to get there. And then if there was a reply, it would take about a week longer just to get a reply. There was no quick, fancy sending it off into the internet. Over time, my writing style has changed, and I've written many fun stories. Some of them, back in my early days, was called The Dutch Shoe, The Greedy Kiwi, The Alien Lamppost, and I just take a lot of pleasure in writing. Even more recently, I've had the pleasure of writing after I saw something on the internet where it was somebody who took their self out for coffee. And I thought I can do that too. What would I say to myself, or my younger self, if I sat across the table from them today? Let me read to you what I just wrote a couple months ago when I took myself out for a drink. And we'll see if it's any better than my writings of 1988. This is me talking to myself across the table. Because growing up a Navy brat, we had never stayed in one place longer than 5 years. I explained I now valued experiences with small groups of friends. He said, that was my younger self, he said he loved his many friends and would do anything for them. And I said I knew that, even if they held him back sometimes. He asked me for some advice. I said to not go into debt, that new fancy credit card he got was too easy to buy stuff with. Without the income to back that up, it would be many years before becoming debt-free. I also said that if you find yourself with someone for a long time and they don't seem to ever want to take the next steps, they're not the right one. But not to worry, because the right one was out there, and I was with her now. Someone he had actually already met. He had asked who, but I didn't want to tell him without jinxing it and spoiling the surprise. He then asked if we ever became a father. I told him no. He asked if I regretted anything along the way, and I said, well, there were maybe regrets, not being a father, one of them. every single thing that happened has formed who I am now, and so I couldn't possibly want to redo anything. He asked if I was happy. I smiled and said most definitely. He wanted to ask one more question, and me not having finished my drink, I obliged. He asked where I thought we'd be 35 years from now. I said, well, you'd be sitting here on this side of the booth talking to a 21-year-old me. And, well, who knows what remains to be seen. I've learned to not have life goals so much, and that I'd rather just enjoy the ride, to appreciate the past, to relish the present, and look forward to what's next. We were both finished with our drinks at this point, and it was time to go. He climbed into his little British sports car, and I got into my time machine. He was going back to a dead-end relationship and his part-time job at the beach and pool as a lifeguard and already accumulating debt. I wished him good luck, but I knew he didn't really need it because it all worked out down the line. So that was a fun thing to write and think about. And just as much as writing goes, I love to read. I'm sitting here in front of a lot of books. Yes, there's ebooks I can read online, but there's something about having a physical book in your hands. And over the years, I've read many, many, many more books than what you see here. But these are the ones that I just can't bear to donate or sell or get rid of. I have kept these, and they're basically treasures throughout my life. Some of the work I did later on in life was to use my dog to help new readers learn to read. It was called Read to the Dog, and I would go visit libraries where young children, younger than you guys, would come in, sit down with a book of their choosing, and they would read to my dog, not to me. And I was not there to correct them, tell them how to pronounce a word, or to coach them in any way. I just let them casually and quietly read to my dog. I'll share a few pictures during this part so you guys can see that. But that was a great thing to do. And then also, I am involved in theater, and so often I get to read. And sometimes it's fun because I do it with an accent. The most recent thing I got to read was a play. It's called The Rocky Horror Picture Show. And sometimes when you're auditioning for a show, they'll give you something and you just have to read it right there on the spot without having seen the words ever before. But let me read to you with some of my accent from the most recent play that I was in. All right, let's go here. And so, after braving the inclement weather and some not too little time, it seemed that fortune had smiled on Brad and Janet, and that they had found the assistance that their plight required. Or had they? There was certainly something about this house, to which a flat tire and a rainy night had brought them, that made the both of them uneasy. But if they were to reach their destination that night, they would have to ignore such feelings and take advantage of whatever help was offered. So, I hope you had fun with that. I have fun with reading and writing. And I've kept many of my writings, and I've kept many of my readings. I hope you guys catch the spark and you enjoy doing the same things. Take care. Nice to meet you all. And say hi to Mr. Acosta for me.